Good day and good evening, and welcome to Dailies Hangout stream with me, Caetsu Chaiji, but you just call me Kai. Finally, now that we have data center travel fully open again, well, I think mostly fully open, like in each region, we're home. Ja-ja. And we don't have to do the roulettes in a weird order. For those that didn't get the news, they've reopened so that Light and Chaos can visit each other, and I believe all of the NA and JP data centers can visit in their respective regions. However, as Matthew mentioned, it seems to be a little slow. Like, it takes like 5 minutes. My guess on this is that there might be heavy use of the travel system right now. RIP Chaos Party Finder. Let's take a look. I haven't unlocked the Savage Raid yet, but I think this looks pretty good. Like, I don't know how bad Light looks, but this looks like pretty good to me. This is looking a little rough, but what did you expect? Like, at this time on a Tuesday where the Savage Raid came out, you know? 30 is pretty small for day one. I mean, it's 30 at 5. Well, for me, it's 5 in the evening. Like, people have to get home from work. How many are there over on Light? Does anyone know? Because that's usually the real comparison. If there's like 100 over on Light, then yeah, then Chaos is not doing well. But if there's 60 on Crystal, well, that's NA, right? You just going to jump in front here quickly and say you cannot compare the amounts in an EU data center with the NA data centers. Like, it's not the same. Has to be Light versus Chaos. Can't be anything else because it's like different player bases over on NA as well, in some ways. With that said, hey Chris, hey Zaf, hey Gireen, hey Gazel, hey Kat. Hey Siren, hey Aradel, hey Matthew, hey Kazadragoon, hey Rust, hey Angel, hey Phil, and hey Ilana. Hope you're all doing very well. Sure, Ether's packed? Probably. I think the difference is that over on EU, I think the adoption of like congregating on one data center came a little slower. So there are at least more people over on Chaos that are like, we don't have to move. Like, this is fine. Hey, Nighthawk. Hope you're doing well as well. Right. So, with that said... Oh, whoops. I went to Amarat to get that sweet tooltip screenshot you saw earlier of very simple Wise Winder. This is going to get called Dreadwinder for like a month. Despite it being Vice Winder, right? Like, I can't imagine that people will instantly remember that they changed the name. Like, this is, like, I would actually say Vice Pit is actually really, really short and sweet compared to Pit of Dread. Like, if it was this easy, why didn't they just call it Dread Pit? They changed the name. They changed the name. They also changed the name on the combo starter. Hey Lexi and Biazan Bronto, hope you're all doing well. They changed it so that all the actions that did something with Noxious Nash are no longer called something with Dread. Now they're called something with Reeve or Vice. Depending on whether it's dual blades or the twin blade thing. I don't know why, but they decided that. I haven't actually played Viper all day. Remember not to dead name Viper skills, everyone. Well, let's see what happens. Like, there is a possibility. It's not 100%. It's not even 50%. There is a chance that the feedback saying, can we have Noxious Nash back, but just like make it 30 and 60 seconds or something, will be overwhelming enough that they might revert it. There's a chance. It's not a high chance, but it is a chance, because as far as I can see, most Vipers I've talked with or seen feedback from either meme on the new change, like they're making fun of it because they think it's silly, or they're mad about it in some way or another. Hey, Forsaken Rogue, hope you're doing well. It sounds like you are. And yet, not only did Paladin receive potency buffs, but they fixed the block rating and block strength glitch, or bug, or whatever you want to call it. So now the block value at level 100 should be 20% again, and the chance to block should also be 30% again. So, like, just a hidden defensive buff for Paladins while they're there. Like, here you have some potency buffs, also have these defensive... I'm forgetting. Goodbye, Breadwinder. Ah, we didn't even get to make that joke. We didn't even get to make that joke, and now it's gone. We didn't even get to make Breadwinder, and now it's gone. Or Breadfang. Anyway... duty time. If you'd like to join me for expert roulette, come on over to me. Pit of bread. That sounds delicious. give me some of that pit of bread. That's really good. This isn't Sage? No, but my Sage isn't level 100. That's why it says mainly. I can't do this one with Sage. I can do the rest with Sage. So we're doing the rest with Sage. This one, however, I will use the opportunity to actually see how these Viper changes feel. I'll say something if we get the big spoilery one. And we get... It's just an optional dungeon. That's also true. Siren made sure there is actually a Sage in the group. Wait, Lexi, are you saying you've been crafting for 5 hours and you just finished making one set? I should have not done that. Do the pre-crafts take that long? Yikes. Well, I don't need to set anything up, so I can just go straight to reawaken, I guess. The real reason they buffed the starter potency buffs and finisher potency buffs is because now that you don't need Noxious Nash, you could easily distract yourself for 40 seconds doing something else. Like, easily. Hey Tristan, hope you're doing well. And also Hermit, hope you're doing well as well. There's no point in me doing that, and now I did the positional wrong because I got myself confused. Cool, Lexi. And that sounds like a lot of work. Did he pay well? Look at that, 10 seconds left. 4 seconds left. I'll say this much. Once the rotation gets going, it doesn't feel that much different. It's just there's one less thing to look at, I guess. I guess it also has the knock-on effect that now that there's like no problem, like no downside at all at lower level to using Dreadwinder combos like back to back. You can at lower levels make use of Vicewinder as like a burst cooldown. I think it's something like that, Gassel. It's like, with my setup, it's more like 2-2-2, 1-1-1, 2-2-1, 1-1-2, and then repeat. So, yellow. If they could just come up with this idea quickly to make it yellow, why didn't they make it so that it colors based on what positional it is at the end? That would have been nice. Oh well. Maybe next time. That was also the complaint that I had, Angel, that that the big selling point of Noxious Nash is like, it's not about maintaining it. Like, that alone wasn't like particularly exciting for anyone. In fact, it's probably easier now, right? Like, it's definitely easier. It was more that Noxious Nash, as it was, presented like an I called it earlier today, I called it an off-key aspect to the rotation. Like, while you can basically write out the full rotation from start to finish for most other things, every time you start a combo with Viper, you're like, well, I don't know if Noxious Nash needs refreshing yet. Like, that could vary. It was like an off-key thing in the same way that that Warriors... Whoops, I missed a weave there. That Warriors Infuriate represents like an off-key aspect to the rotation. That because the cooldown gets reduced every time you use Fell Cleave, you don't know for sure what the cooldown is at any given time. Like, you can't just look at a specific moment and know what the cooldown will be. because it might have changed. Like, how many fill cleaves did you do? Like, it's not that big of a deal, but it was like an aspect that made the rotation more, like, that makes the rotation more alive during the part where it's less intense, right? So while it doesn't really change that much, it feels like it changes a lot. Ow. Ow. But like that's the way I feel it, at least. That Noxious Nash gave you something to mess with in between bursts. And I'm guessing that's why a lot of, like, some Vipers at least have said, I mean, it's not, like, bad or anything. It's just, it feels like something's missing now, which is, I mean, that's exactly what it is. Like genuinely, that's that's the problem. Something's missing, right? I saw that my Serpent's Ire was ready as I clicked Reawaken. I would actually rather spend that than 50 gauge, but not really feeling it when the pack is about to end. Yes, I think I can make that. I think I can reach around and fix my speed buff in time if I don't get stuck on this random being out of range. For A? What's up, Ronsom? Yeah, exactly. It needs it needs a little something, because there isn't that much going on the rest of the time. Like, I have a feeling that the reason why it could feel like a Viper had a lot of stuff going on, despite it, like, as some have said, while all this is happening, you're not pressing that many buttons. It's not that crazy. But having a bunch of things to, like, manage makes it feel like there's more going on. Like, while, yes, you spent most of that, like, while you don't, like, you press once and then your character does all this, or you press twice and it does all this, you spent that time going, alright, my buffs, how are they doing? Do I need to refresh anything? What combo should I do next? Like, all of that planning happens in that time, so at least the Viper player doesn't necessarily realize that not that much is actually happening, because they spent the time thinking. Because there was something to think about. There still is something to think about. But, it's a little less, right? Thank you, Ardell. Ugh. Cyanide says, I don't want new Viper for a whole patch. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see if they decide that this isn't going to work. Charger. Like, this is the first, like, actually opportunity I had to try new Viper. Like, all day I've just had the opportunity to think about it. I wasn't actually doing any content. So it's just like, oh man, this is going to suck. Well, not necessarily. Like, the key thing is that my takeaway from it was that was extremely unnecessary. Like, I wonder if the development team had said, we're looking into making some changes to make Viper easier. We were thinking of looking into getting rid of Noxious Nash or making positionals a little easier to deal with. Do you think the Viper players would have fought more to keep Noxious Nash or the positionals? Because, like, that's the thing that I find weird, is that I feel like if I had been asked, I would have been like, whatever, just simplify the positionals then. It's like, it's not that big of a deal. Can we keep Noxious Nash? That one's more interesting. Matthew says, if they reverted unpopular changes, we'd have chitin and healer dots back. I wonder if people were enough up in arms over the healer dots when they started getting reduced in Shadowbringers. But yeah, the chitin example is a pretty good example. They think Viper players can't deal with both job mechanics. There's one upside to this that there's one thing that I will say that is actually a little nice about this. And I actually also mentioned this briefly in the dungeon, right? So here, it's shining red, have these orange things to indicate step 2 combo. Choose whichever one you like. Here it glows blue and has the blue blades to indicate step 3 combo. Choose whichever one you like. And do this. Now it says yellow left for yellow for combo 1 and left for steel fangs. And here it of course says left for Hunter's Sting. And here it says right for Flanksbane's Fang. This change means that the Viper sight makes slightly better sense. There's one thing left that's missing. One thing. And that is, if you could only determine this with the Viper sight, with only the Viper sight, what positional am I doing next? You can't look at my buffs, you can't look at my hotbars. If you only had the Viper sight, what positional am I doing next? I don't know. Like, do something there. If they can do that, then we're in business. My suggestion, make the step 2 glow blue. And then you can have the step 3 be green or red, depending on the positional that you need. So it glows green or red. It already shows in the sword that it's the step 3 that you're doing, because it's orange and blue, and if the glow from the sword was green or red, the blue part of the sword would also stand out better. If they did that, then I would be slightly more on board with this new Reaving Fangs change, because then it would actually make it so that they really put the Viper sight front and center. I'm not saying that like completely means that Noxious Gnash wasn't better. I think that was cooler, more interesting to work with. But I can see the merits of this. Like, it's going somewhere, but it's missing something. Like, there's a problem. And it's in step 3 now. Like, now the problem is only step 3. That's my gripe. But I will say that this new change does make it, like, put the Viper sight feature more front and center. It's just missing something. So it's almost there. It's almost there. Anyway. Hey, Emiya. Hope you're doing well. Brontom says, in my opinion, if they removed Noxious Gnash, it was not because it was hard, but caused too much damage. Brontom, I want you to know that they removed Noxious Gnash and buffed basically all of the actions in the Viper toolkit by 10%. They basically just said all enemies are permanently affected by Noxious Gnash now. Permanently. Forever. They're born with it. So you always do 10% more damage. The only thing that didn't get this compensation was your auto attacks. He says, can I join? I mean, sure, are you here? We're going to do high-level dungeons next. Frontal positional, obviously. But yeah, I think we're almost there with Viper on that aspect. Whether that's better or worse, I don't know. But they didn't nerf Viper in this pass, I don't think. I'm pretty sure they buffed them. They made your step 1s do more damage, and then they also buffed all of your other attacks. Oh yeah, thank you, Tristan. I had actually forgotten to do that. That's fair, Brontom. I actually, both on Discord and on the channel, if you go to like the community page, I posted a patch note summary. That goes in, like, that goes into enough detail, I would say, about most of the things. Now it's just Reaper then. No, it's not Reaper. It specifically lost Death's Design. How could that make it Reaper? Like, how does that work? We removed Death's Design. Ah, oh, great. Now they basically turned it into Reaper. Right. If you want to join me for high-level dungeons, come on over to me. By the way, I'm playing Sage. just Gallows and Gibbet and melee combo. I don't know. I feel like they're different enough. Although they do have a lot in common. It might be simpler Reaper. Without the debuff, Viper seems more monk than Reaper to me. That could also be. It could even be more samurai. Did you know? Oh, did I know what? That warrior can solo Balez's wall synced? Yeah, it did. Ow. By the way, there's ranged mobs over here. Something that I have been wondering about is that, like, I don't know how I came upon suddenly thinking about that specifically, but I started like thinking about, with the sheer burst that Pictomancer has, whether there are certain duties that Pictomancer would be capable of soloing, not by virtue of actually like being good at sustaining itself, but just by simply beating the enemy down into a crisp before it actually becomes a problem. How do you mean, split the GCD combos, Pronto? Palace of the Dead kind of content for Pictomancer? Oh yeah, probably. They might be very, very good in deep dungeons. I haven't checked, but it wouldn't surprise me, because a thing that, like, that deep dungeons have as a thing that makes Pictomancer insanely good at it is that you spend a lot of time running between fights, right? Again, low levels, the instant you get creature motif, you can probably just like run up to a thing and just go blark, and then just like draw a thing, and then run up to the next thing, blam, and just like draw again. Like, that might be a mild exaggeration, but you get what I mean, right? He do be hitting hard. I don't remember him hitting that hard. Oh, like that. Yeah, I could understand that, Bunto. I wonder why they don't let you do that, actually. Like, they implemented the exact system that would possibly allow you to do that, and then they don't. Hey Bits, hope you're doing well. The number of cooldowns you'd need to wait for between both pulls? Well, I mean, you don't have to wait for them, Bits. Like, I get where you're coming from, but I mean, you get at least one living muse per 40 seconds. and you can stockpile them. Meanwhile, Machinist gets 1 drill per 20 seconds, and you can't stockpile them. You just get the 1. So I don't think that'll be a huge concern. There's also the part that being the best at Palace of the Dead is a rather specific title to have. So, like, I'm pretty sure, like, the contest is, like, between Summoner, Machinist, and then all I'm saying is, I think Pixamancer might be up there. And the sad part is they don't get, Holy and White in Palace of the Dead. Or Heaven on High, for that matter, so mobility might be a problem. Wait, what? Cyanide? In the level 99 dungeon? I mean, I could see the plus to being able to split up the combos just for, like, personal preference for Viper. I think, personally, like, just trying to imagine how that would look on a hotbar, I feel like it might be absolute insanity once you click Reawaken. Like, just have your action bars just turn into, like, random stuff, and it's all blue. Like, if you want that, you better remember which button is which. It would look like Samurai. You are aware that your combos would be 2, 2, and 4, right? Instead of, like... Okay, I think it would look different. You'd have the same amount of buttons as Samurai. Well, that's the thing that I'm saying, Bits, is that you don't need to wait a full 80 seconds, and the reason why I'm comparing Drill to Muses is that, like, before you get the traits that boost the potency of them, Palm Muse does the same damage as Drill, but it's an OGCD with an AoE component. So you get 1 OGCD Drill every 40 seconds. It's just inconvenient to prepare it while in combat. And every second time you use it, you get 2 of them, because you also get Mark of the Ages. So, like, you don't need to wait the full 80 seconds. The thing that I specifically remember being awkward, especially, like, low levels... Like when you're initially going through like a solo run as like a summoner or something, is that you use Ether Charge and then you cast like 1 spell, mob dead, run to the next one, 1 spell, mob dead. That gets harder at higher floors, definitely. But in all those early floors, the moment you get Living Muse, you can pretty much just walk past a mob and just go, you're dead, and then just keep running. That's a mild exaggeration, possibly, but, like, that might be helpful. You can just kill 2 mobs at a time. But yeah, I do find it a little interesting that both Pixamancer and Viper are like very good demonstrations of both examples where you're looking at it like, why can I not split these things? And simultaneously you're looking at other things going, why can I not combine these things? Like for Viper, you might look at it and go, well, I prefer it if every button has a unique keybind. Why can I not do that? And for Pixelmancer, you're looking at it like, you know, I'm gonna say it, Fire in Red and Blizzard in Cyan. Why? Why are they different buttons? There's no need to. Comet in Black and Holy in White is the same thing. Why are they different buttons? And it's just funny that both of the jobs introduced have this weird situation where it feels like they made this new feature like perhaps while working on the new jobs, like they were working on the new jobs and went, oh yeah, we could do that with other jobs. We could make it like a feature that people could toggle if it were, like if they like. And then the new jobs, they're like, should we also do this for them? Nah, no one will notice.
How'd you like this?
And yeah, bits, Comet in Black and Holy in White are two separate buttons.
I'll tear you limb from
For some reason. Just like how Fire in Red and Blizzard in Cyan are two different buttons. They, like, they're not interchangeable in any way where you could choose to use one or the other. They're, like... Like, I'm just saying that it's like if they had, for example, Viper demanded that they had to have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, or that's how I do it, you know, the generations and Ouroboros, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, had to be separate buttons on the hotbar. But also, while you are in Reawaken, they just turn off all other options. Like, that's what Blizzard in Cyan feels like on Pixelmancer. It's like, you have to have a separate button for it. It doesn't add anything, but you have to. Thank you, Angel. Only Angel. I don't know if Rust helped, but Emir did not care. Kill the boss. Rust did help. Okay, then thank you to Rust as well. I've done the same, by the way, specifically as where like the boss is basically dead. It would be just as fast to just kill the boss as help the healer. Still, help the healer out of principle. I'll kick those chains for Alamigo! And yeah, I've done that too, Bits. Like, you're just, like, there, mashing your, like, Fire in Red, and you're like, why is nothing happening? Ah, I still have subtracted palette. When are they going to change the fact to get Troubadour 6 levels later than Machinist and Dancer gets theirs? Angel says I have to get used to stop looking at the dot. Yeah, my advice is for new monk, just click the glowy button. Just click the glowy button. It's that easy. Right. I will do this. I'll say if you'd like to join me for leveling roulette, come on over to me. We are actually a lot of people. I think we could have 2 or maybe even 3 groups. Brontom says, looks like Samurai got smacked down. Not really. You want to see... I just want to show Brontom something. Are you looking? So you know how before you used Midara Setsugeka and then you had to do Kaishi immediately after. You see this buff I have now? I'm just gonna do these other combos, you know? Just gonna do some other combos because I can, you know? I'll save that Midare for a bad day. I'll save that one for later. By the way, this is the change that they added. That's the reason why they're nerfing so much. Now, I could also do this. So I could do this. And then I could do this. And this, and this, and then I could also do this. The thing that they've done is at level 74, you learn Tsubamegaishi, and the way that it works now is every time you use an EI Jutsu that is not Higanbana, it just gives you 30 seconds of an extra instant one. Like, every time. It's not a cooldown anymore, it's just, you used it, you want to have another one? Yeah, exactly, Zarf. It buffs both the burst of Samurai and it also actually buffs a more, like, if you don't have raid buffs, you're like not in a coordinated group, it's still a buff because you can use that Midare Setsugeka to help you align it so you can use Higanbana right when you need to. Because using Higanbana doesn't break the ready you already have. You can just hold a Midare until the very last moment and just have it. So you can like push a cooldown, like push a GCD forward or backwards as you need it. You won't need that in an optimized group. In an optimized group, it just means that you have an extra Kaishi Setsugeka in every burst, and you have an extra. It's every time. Every time you use Midare Setsugeka, you get Kaishi Setsugeka. Every time you use Tenka Goken, you get Kaishi Goken. Every time. It's really wild. Surely it's still on the 2-minute in some way? Nope. Every time you get one. And that means on the 2-minute burst you just also get an extra one. And the way you get an extra one is you just, you know, you do your Midare Setsugeka in the filler, and then you build up to another one, then your burst starts, Kaishi, new Midare, Kaishi again, and then you do whatever else you want to do. But it's crazy. Like, it's, like, not only that, but at this point, Samurai has a defensive cooldown that is, like, it's bordering on being, like, tank quality defensive cooldown here. Wait, it's called Tengetsu. Tengetsu. I thought it was called Tengetsu. Weird. Anyway, it reduces damage taken by 10% once, but if it does actually reduce the damage of an attack, then it reduces damage taken by 10% for 9 seconds, while also giving you a 200 potency heal over time for 9 seconds. So 600 cure potency, 10% damage reduction, for 9 seconds plus when the first hit lands. Tenganzu. Tenganzu. And yet that And then also the Tsubamagaishi change made me actually look at it and be like, I should have leveled Samurai. I should have leveled Samurai. At what level is that learned? 82. 82. At level 82 it upgrades. It upgrades instead of Shoatsu. Before that, Third Eye is more basic. Like, at level 82, they add that whole follow-up. Yeah, Samurai looks awesome. And exactly, Tristan, the thing that makes it so good is not that it lasts 9 seconds. It's that its cooldown is 15. That's Samurai's team utility, yeah. If you need someone to soak something and it can't be a tank, let the Samurai do it. That's fine, guys. My surprise was that I was confident there was not an N before the TSU sound. Rontom says, I saw the Viper notes and I don't have the mind to go through that whole thing. Again, I wrote a summary. The important part is Noxious Nash is gone. You just alternate the starter combos. That's actually it. Everything else is just, like, basically potency boosts across the board. Like, they buffed basically everything to compensate for deleting a 10% damage bonus debuff that you were supposed to maintain. Yeah, the summary is pinned on the Discord in the general chat. It's also posted on the community page on YouTube, on my community page, of course. Oh, look, Dot! Black Mage getting good changes. They got Ice Paradox back, but it doesn't recover MP, so it's basically like Super Scathe. Like they basically re-implemented Ice Paradox, but because of the changes that happened around it, it's like Super Scathe now. That's not bad, by the way. It's just it doesn't actually move your ice sequence forward. You can use it for the line, yeah, the AF1, F3, F3P line. That's true. That you could do. How mathematically am I supposed to roughly divide my enemies without rough divide? Well, you'll have to use a trajectory instead, I guess. That's a good one, Chris. But yeah, Zion, I looked at that too, and initially, I looked at it and thought, like, I don't understand how that works. Like, did they re-implement the cooldown then? Or, like, what did they do? Because I couldn't believe that they would give you something like Tsubamagaishi without a cooldown. That it sounds like Fantasy Dreamland, right? And that they would do that. Like, no, they wouldn't do that. That's like a big cooldown. It's always been like kind of like a big cooldown, right? Surely they wouldn't just give you that. Not even for that price. Lo and behold, here we are. Quick cast Blizzard 3? No, doesn't work like that, Ronto. If you know how Blizzard 1 works, that's how it works. But you can only use Ice Paradox while you're already in Umbral Ice. So the only time where the fact that Ice Paradox grants Umbral Ice matters is if you transposed into it. Then you can get to Umbral Ice 2 by using Ice Paradox. But if you do that, then you'd have to cast Blizzard 4 twice to cap out your MP. So yeah, it's Blizzard 1, except it doesn't recover MP. And it does way more damage. And it's instant. Like, it's also instant. But yeah, that's the reason why we're saying it's super Scathe, because it doesn't cost anything. That makes it better Scathe. It just does damage, and it's instant. Like, that's ultimately what Scathe does. That's the good thing Scathe would do if Scathe was good. But Scathe is not good. It's movement, yes. Hey Ham, hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's movement during the ice phase, which was something that Dawntrail Black Mage was sort of lacking. And it's just a good attack. Like, unlike Scathe, Ice Paradox is a good attack. Like, it is a good attack. It's just that, yes, Fat Man says, I'm not a Black Mage player, but the return of Ice Paradox just confuses me. Exactly. Like, I looked at it, I thought about it, and I came to the conclusion that it's probably a good idea to use Ice Paradox in every ice phase. Like, that's probably good. Like, net positive, surely? But it also opens the door for a lot of potentially weird stuff. Maybe? See, that's the thing. I don't know. The fact that Ice Paradox doesn't really do anything means that, I don't know, like, maybe you could get some non-standard shenanigans off the ground if you did, like, I don't know. Like, let's say you had a bunch of polyglots you wanted to get rid of anyway. And you had lucid dreaming. Then maybe it could be a damage gain to transpose into Umbral Ice, use Ice Paradox, then Blizzard 4. Now you're halfway to max MP. You're halfway. Not all the way, but halfway. Could you then find other stuff to do for long enough to wait until you actually got full MP? My guess is a big fat no, Lebao. Like, not even close. But that's like the most likely result I could imagine. That could, like, get something weird going on. I forgot to use my dot in that whole pull, and the last one. It's going to be hard to relearn, or to learn, that Sage has an AoE dot to maintain. I just wanna Discrasia. I just wanna cleave. It needed to count towards the mana region. See, that's... Did everyone... Did I not say this? I'm pretty sure I called that if they gave back Ice Paradox and it didn't give MP, people would immediately be like, well, it also needs to give MP. Like, I knew it. It's like, we want Ice Paradox back. I'm like, well, it doesn't do ice. Like, when people got concerned when they didn't see Ice Paradox in the media tour, I'm like, well... Or rather, people were like, will Ice Paradox recover MP? It doesn't do ice damage. And I said that too. And I'm like, if they give you back Ice Paradox, it would presumably still be unaspected, right? Or will it? Will they change it? People asked for Ice Paradox. They didn't ask for it to get changed. They just wanted it. Now they got it, and now they want it changed. then next you're telling me, well, it also needs to give me Umbral Hearts, otherwise what's the point? Might as well just use Blizzard 4 then. I will say there is one really, really weird thing about Ice Paradox. Because when I initially talked about this, when we didn't know that Ice Paradox was getting removed initially, I was in the camp of, well, I can't imagine they wouldn't let Ice Paradox recover MP because it's an upgrade of Blizzard 1 and Blizzard 1 recovers MP, right? So surely, Paradox will as well, right? Here we are. Here we are. Chloe just called. She wants her bestest friend to tell her some stories. Thank you, Ham. What if it's Scathe that turns into Paradox? That would be pretty funny. Yeah, I had a feeling. I'm pretty sure Brontom doesn't have, like, that much of a horse in this race. So it's more like just looking at it as someone who might not be the most invested in Black Mage. I don't know if you are, Brontom. And just going, well, it doesn't really make sense without it recovering MP, does it? To me, it doesn't add to the rotation in any way without that MP. Yeah, it brings you up to Ice 2, but you've swapped a single Blizzard 4 out, essentially. Well, the thing is, you haven't actually swapped it out. You have to do both. That's the problem. Yeah, Ham says Ice Paradox should just be Holy and White. Ice Paradox basically is Holy and White, isn't it? It's an action that doesn't add anything to your rotation in any other aspect, but sometimes it's good. Like, sometimes it's a damage gain, and sometimes it's just good for mobility. You could also argue that for a really long time, Fire 4 didn't add anything to the rotation. Actually, Fire 4 is the whole thing that takes away from it. The whole idea of the Black Mage rotation is to build up resources to throw into the Fire 4 hole that just is endlessly deep. But it is funny, because by the way that Black Mage is designed now, like, as I said, I have no idea, like, if there's anything special you can do with Ice Paradox. But on the flip side, I feel like maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but it feels like to me that the non-standard Black Mage rotation of Endwalker was kind of like they kind of left possibilities on the table. Like, they just left them there on the table with, like, things that were close enough that maybe there's something there. And then the players figured out that, yes, there is something there. And maybe this way Ice Paradox does leave, like a door open to do something. But I don't know what it would be. Is that a new kind of square hole? Yes. Yes, it is. Brontom says, it's just a movement tool. My whole point is that we wanted Ice Paradox for the shenanigans, but we don't get that with this. Well, then you should have been more specific. Because a lot of people actually cried out about wanting Ice Paradox back because Black Mage was supposedly lacking mobility. Yes, really. Particularly because of Ice basically offering nothing in terms of mobility. Like that's generally where that stemmed from, and with Ice Paradox back, now that's solved. Why do mages have to be mobile? Great question, Emir. Excellent question. I couldn't possibly tell you. The primary reason is, of course, that the more mobility bosses demand of you, the more you actually, you know, need mobility. Angel says, I liked it before they added Ice Paradox. Like, you mean you liked Black Mage better yesterday? Is that how you mean, Angel? Like, not necessarily literally yesterday.
Streams of ether. Surge as one.
But like, before the patch. They just lose the physicals? I guess you mean mechanics.
Even when dancing winds pierce my heart.
Alright, Hermes! Like, take your time, alright? Even when dancing wind pierce my foes! When you interrupt yourself. Hey Obama, hope you're doing well. The thing is, Bits, some players complained, like, I don't know if they still are, but some players were complaining that they felt that Black Mage wasn't mobile enough anymore. The thing is, part of the problem there is that they moved the free mobility of Paradox from Ice to Fire, and then they guaranteed the free mobility on Fire, which was Firestarter. Like, they guaranteed that one, so like they doubled up on mobility in Fire and removed it from Ice. Which means that before, you had the ability to just go into Ice more. If, like, you could just dip in there and grab a free, like, an instant cast if you needed it. Now, you can't really do that in the same way. And you also specifically get penalized for not finishing your fire stage because Flare Star, right? And that of course means that some players got the feeling that, well, when I'm in Ice state, I can't move at all. Forgetting the part where, you know, you have Xenoglossy and Thunder, like you could plan that mobility there. It's not perfect, but it's something. But Ice Paradox basically just means every time you switch state, you're given a Thunder and a Paradox. It's like you basically get 2 mobility options every time you switch state, which is pretty crazy, but they nerfed Thunder's ability to work like that. Yeah, the logic is, of course, the reason why mages have to be mobile is if the bosses expect you to be mobile, then you need to be. But there's a difference between having plenty of mobility options and having enough mobility options. As Angel says, they don't believe Black Mage needed it. It was a bonus. But that's hard to say, because I don't believe Angel is a Black Mage main. And, well, I also had the feeling of, I don't think I need it, I'm also not a Black Mage main. I think the closest we could, like... I think the closest we can get to a Black Mage main that I've specifically talked about this on that didn't have a negative perspective on it, I think was Fubuki, who said, I don't feel like they need it. Like, they don't need more mobility, I can figure it out. Like, that's the key here, is that some of the players complaining that Black Mage doesn't have enough mobility is they got too used to non-standard Black Mage, who basically just had this, like, endless hat. They just kept, like, picking bunnies out of, just going, oops, instant cast, oops, instant cast, oops, instant cast. And then Yoshi P came over and said, no more magic hat. And now they don't know how to, like, find those magic bunnies on their own, because they got used to having the magic hat to just go, oops, instant cast out of. Like, it's not exactly like that, but it's pretty close. So when they removed that, a lot of players who relied on that go, well, now I can't play anymore, because I don't know how to plan my mobility without that. And those of us that never played non-standard are just going, I mean, it feels like it's actually a little bit faster now. It feels like I can move a little bit more now. When it's, like, net, not that, because non-standard was insane. But, like, I think that's where the problem really lies, because I also know that Fubuki did not play non-standard Black Mage. They don't have that point of reference. Whereas most of the Black Mages that I've seen complaining about it, I feel like often they either didn't have a horse in the race at all, or they played non-standard. And it's okay to not like new Black Mage. Totally. But if you start going, Black Mage doesn't have X when it has X, then we start a discussion, right? Doesn't have enough mobility, even though it does have enough mobility, for example. Also that, Imi, if you don't like it, you can just not play it. The problem with that philosophy is, of course, that some of the players going, but I liked Endwalker Black Mage. The reason why they're so against this is because maybe they don't want to play something else. Like, out of all the jobs in Endwalker, 19 of them, they chose Black Mage. Now the thing they liked in Black Mage is gone. And they're, of course, justified to do that. And Gazel, I feel like you're being a little bit mean to Ymir. And Black Mage can slide cast. It's just that I don't know why people are thinking that slide casting means this. Like, I know it might be a bit of a shock, but this is also slide casting. That's also slide casting. It still counts as slide casting. Isn't slide casting just bad on Black Mage because of the inherently long cast times? It's harder and you don't get as much value out of it. Mainly because you get the same value out of slide casting as everyone else. The key that I want to emphasize here is, you know what's not slide casting? This is not slide casting. This is not slide casting. This is just casting and moving. This is not slide casting. You know what's the difference? I wait for the cast to finish. So that's not slide casting. This, you see here, if I actually slide cast, then I don't move very much, because the slide is only in the last bit of the cast. And Black Mage has that too. Is that good enough now? Nope. Like, that's a key thing. Bosses require burst movement now, more and more. So, unless you like, no, well, I need to be over there in like 30 seconds, and I don't have anything else to worry about in the meantime, unless that's what you're dealing with, then slide casting doesn't help for a Black Mage, because they take 30 years to get anywhere doing that. But they have more instant casts, so if they need to be over there, they can just, you know, fire paradox, ethereal manipulation to the guy that already went there. And Gazel also saying, show me how to slide cast 10 yalms. That's, you can't actually move that far in a slide cast. No one can. You can move, like, if you do it perfectly, you can move 3 yalms in a slide cast. Three, because the base movement speed of all characters is 6 yalms per second. And the slide cast window is like half a second. Anyway. Runtom says, I haven't checked in a minute. Is Black Mage still kind of bad on the damage charts? It's low damage. I'm certain was cause the main stopped playing it. It's a combination. Changes happened, which made it weaker. And then some players stopped maining it, which made it look worse. And Black Mage is a reasonably hard job to optimize, so it has a tendency to look much worse until people figure it out. Like, every single thing that could make Black Mage look worse happened. The only thing missing was, like, a horde of players that are bad just started picking it up for no reason and just playing poorly. Like, that's the only thing missing to make Black Mage look even worse. And that's true, Gazel, but Ymir still didn't say anything wrong when they said Black Mage can slide cast. Whether that helps or not, that's like a different question, but, you know. I will say that slide casting isn't going to help much. That much is true. But I don't think Ymir is saying this to be mean. Or unrealistic, for that matter. It's actually, I think Ymir is saying this to try and give a positive perspective. Because the people that say that Black Mage can't move are taking the exact opposite stance. They're going, I can't use the movement that I used to use, so now Black Mage can't move at all. Regardless of whether that's true or not. Doesn't matter. And that sometimes has that effect on people. That they then, like, pull hard in the other direction. Anyway, should we switch to a more positive perspective or subject, which is if you'd like to join me for MSQ Roulette, come on over to me. You'll be poor to Digomana. Yeah, I would like if people actually came over to me and not like halfway, so I'm not sure if they want to come or not. Can we, can I request that you don't make group 2 before group 1 has been made? Can I request that one? Yeah, Gazel, and then I said come closer so that I know who wants to come, because I didn't know who to choose. Like, now you can make the group. You see, my group is done. Now you can make group 2, and that's fine. Pause the commander. Let's see. Will it? Nice, Cyanide. How do you do that? Can you do that again for me later? Like, on the regs? Recently I've been getting Praetorium a lot. Did you get Praetorium? Oh boy. I actually do remember, Bronto, the this one time where I tried hunt trains when Dawntrail was still like super duper new. And there were so many people in the zone that like I wasn't lagging. It like hard to explain, but it felt like the game had so many things it needed to process that it had to like cue my action. Like it was like, I'll get back to you on that one. You want to use Dreadfangs, yeah? Well, first of all, doesn't exist anymore. Second of all, I'll be back to you in like 3 seconds. Which made it very hard. And then I didn't continue on the hunt train. There were too many people. What group 2? There is no group 2. I think it's a good thing we have group 2 instead of like we go in 4 people and there's just like 4 plus other people just standing around. Like, genuinely way better that we both go in. It's just, it's really hard to make a group if there's another group being formed right next to me. Angel says, I do not recommend trains now. You don't? It's really, actually it's pretty funny that, not you, but it's pretty funny because I remember when people were like, okay, so I want a lot of tombstones so that I can gear up, so that I can do like the extremes and that in good gear. And people said, oh, then you should do hunt trains. Just do hunt trains. It's very effective. I tried it because of that suggestion once, and I then concluded that nope. Nope. Does not work. But I imagine it's that perspective of people just going, just do hunt trains, that caused this. Wow. Hunt marks die in seconds. Yeah, exactly. I think the only way you can really participate is, like, effectively, is if you're a tank and you bring, like, a few other tanks with you or something. You just all stand there with your tank stand spamming Tomahawk or whatever. Otherwise, you don't get enough enmity build up in time for the boss to die. By the way, did Ymir go to dinner? I think it's around the time where they normally go. It's just they suddenly became very quiet. The particular problem right at the first weeks of Dawntrail, Ilana, is that your options for farming the endlessly farmable tomestones are like spam expert roulettes or like hunt trains. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much it. And hunt trains were, to my knowledge, if they worked, that's the key here, if they worked and didn't like jank out because there's too many people there, it is like significantly better than farming, like just spamming expert roulettes. Which then has the effect that because people realize that it's very effective, a lot of people try to do it, which means that there's too many people trying to do it, and now it is not possible anymore. For the 450 per week, you have choices. Definitely, Ilana. Actually, I would say part of the reason why I never cared that much about hunt trains is because if it's weekly tomestones you're after, then you can just do an expert roulette a day, 5 days of the week, just 5 on the daily. Boom, done. Don't need anything else. Just 5 expert roulettes, like with a mediocre group. You'll like with just some randos, you finished that in like under 2 hours, spread over a few days. And that's it. So yeah, you have other options, but expert roulette is so simple that often people don't like need that.
What have you done? No more than was necessary for my god to be reborn.
I mean, that's also true. Because of Dawntrail's extra instances, it can get quite crazy. Like, both hunt trains and fate trains can get really, really confusing because of all of the instances. And it's also pretty funny because I'm not actually sure that that fate farming is faster with all those people. Because my experience is more that if you guess wrong, like you choose to go to the wrong fate and everyone else is doing the other one, then you're just kind of stuck there. And you could choose to go, like, drop it and just run over to the other fate, but it's going to be finished before you make it there. And then they'll come to you. You might as well stay. Whereas if it's an instance with very few players, then you can just, like, most jobs can solo a fate boss. You just need your Chocobo companion, you're good.
Was not my intention. Oh, Heidelin.
Zav says, I used to cap tombstones in just 2 stays, roulettes, and endwalker. Won't happen today because I'm not 100 and everything just yet, but next week for sure. Yeah, exactly. I used to do that as well. Just make my way through all the dailies on Tuesday. And then maybe again Wednesday.
We will speak later, Ascian.
And that you can also do. That, I would say, takes longer. But you could genuinely just do 1 expert roulette a day. And that's it. Don't need any more. But like 5 days a week.
Adventurer, let us find the answer together.
Case in point, now that the weekly tombstones are out, I could imagine a lot of people don't care about doing expert roulette every day. Just, you know, some of the days until they've gotten their weekly cap. 72 marks per trade. Yeah, that probably takes over an hour. You as well, Angel? I learned just this morning that this is a thing. I'm guessing it's because a lot of people finally started spamming macros, like, real hard. So they've just finally really started to notice. Or rather, like, started spamming macros where they actually need trained perfection. I think, oh, never mind. Can I not do math? I don't know, Siren. Can you not do math? What's going on? Oh, right. It's not the there was not 6 instances in every zone. That's true. Nah, Brontom, you just need to, like, figure out buying something meaningful. I would say there's plenty of things you can get for the knots. So if you genuinely think that you need to be able to buy tickets for them, then maybe the real answer is that you've run out of things to farm. That's an unfair thing to say, I suppose, when there is the achievement for doing like 2,000 of them. But yeah, you can buy materia with them. Can you buy grade 12 materia with them? Yes, well, there you go. There you go, Brontom. That's your tickets. Those are your tickets. It's harder to farm Centurion allied seals since they die so fast. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. I feel like the developers didn't intend for you to farm like 5 expansions old hunt marks to pay for your teleportation fees. And yeah, there's also other ways to get seals, like Blue Mage. You need your 14,000 tickets to go higher? Yeah. Relatable, it feels like my 33,000 ventures, or 32,000 ventures. Hmm. Yeah, there are other things you can buy with the nuts, so I think it wouldn't surprise me if the tickets have always been on the first two seals. I don't know. But I can understand why they decided to not continue that. I also have a feeling, because the Centurio seals are Stormblood, right? They lasted until Stormblood, and then after Stormblood they went over to nuts. It's almost like in A Realm Reborn they went, okay, we've kind of goofed that one up with these allied seals. Let's start over. Centurio seals, and then we can add things to that. And then in Stormblood they looked at the situation and went, let's try one more time, and then added the nuts. And so far, they've been pleased with that result. So they've just kept using it. Raven says, I just do the weekly hunt mark and my teleportation tickets have never run out. How much do those tickets cost? Is it like 4? 5? Rontum says 60 is not enough for gathering time. No, it's going to go through 102 hours in Dawntrail. Well, here's an interesting perspective, Rontum. Imagine what the average price of those teleports are. And remember that each ticket is technically worth that. Could you make that money in a different way? Like, I'm just saying that those tickets also represent time investment. Could you invest that time in making money? So you could, like, afford just paying for those 100 teleports? Because that's also something you could consider. I know that when you have a hunt train, it's very fast when it goes well. Hey, Jacques. Hope you're doing well. How fast Group 2, by the way? Is that ding sound coming from you, Angel? Is that trained perfection? Yes. It's very, very noticeable, yeah. It's just in the middle, just randomly. Ding! Dinner's ready. Ding! I think what we're going to do next is Frontline, by the way. But I do want to wait for Group 2. Yeah, that ding would work a lot better if Trained Perfection was used as, like, the actually last action. But that it doesn't work like that. What do you mean unintended behavior? Just on that, by the way, with hunt trains, I'm pretty sure that not only is, like, max level players coming back to, like, a Realm Reborn content to farm random hunt marks, probably not the intended behavior, but as far as I understand, as far as the developers are concerned, hunt trains is like an abomination, and that's not how it was meant to be. It was not meant to work like that. Like, whatever that means for balance and the design of that content is neither here nor there, but like, speaking of unintended behavior, I'm pretty sure that the hunt trains themselves are unintended behavior as far as the developers are concerned. It's not like they're banning anyone for it, it's not illegal. You can solo some, doesn't surprise me. Probably warrior, am I right? And I imagine, Zaf, actually, I imagine if the developers had seen this coming, then maybe they would have designed they would have designed hunts differently, such that what you're describing is what would happen. Like, I guess one way they could have done it is if hunt marks were a lot more ephemeral, like they only came about for a very short amount of time, and only a select amount of players could participate in them. But then again, if like a group of people cornered the market on it, which is basically what has happened, then what would happen wouldn't be that you could have like, you could approach this random hunt mark with a few friends. It would be the instant that a hunt mark spawns, there's like a group of people already there, ready to go. And unless they did something like Boja, where you could like sign up, and then like if too many people wanna go, then it like has to like leave some people on the table. Like, unless they did something like that, it would just be a case of first come, first serve, probably. And if that's the case, then what you would have is, you know, the hunt train people wouldn't be hunt train people. They would be those that, like, those weird, obscure people that you sometimes see just storm into a zone, do some wacky stuff, and then a big boss appears, and then they disappear into, like, a portal to fight it. And there would technically be like a complete lack of incentive to share how to spawn the various hunts if that's how it worked, because the less people in on it, the more hunts you have for yourself. Because if you're the only one that knows how to spawn it, whenever you spawn it and put it on cooldown, no one else can test what it is that makes it spawn. And you just need to make sure it keeps spawning on time, and then people have difficulty actually figuring it out. And, like, you might think, nah, people wouldn't do that. Maybe not now. There's a reasonable possibility that people would share it just for the sake of being able to be the first who did it. Like, the first one to figure it out. But like, I remember that it, like, I don't remember outright, but I understand that, like, say 20 years ago in World of Warcraft, raid guilds would not tell the other raid guilds how to defeat a boss, because that was something they figured out. If you wanted to beat the boss, then you had to be in the group that knew how to do it. And if there's only so many players to go around, then being the guild that can beat that boss was technically an advantage in, like, recruitment opportunities to get players. Same kind of logic. Why should we share the information with you? That just means there's less for us. That's also part of the problem with PvP guides, even for Final Fantasy XIV. But it's like twofold, because a lot of the advice that can be given for PvP is like, it's more complicated because it's a lot about playing around your opponent, making the most of your toolkit. But there's also the part that, why would I tell you how to beat me? That's a really stupid idea, isn't it? To teach you how to beat me. I actually remember there was this is like over 10 years ago, I think. In my raiding guild in World of Warcraft, there's an exceptionally good fire mage called Grand Panic. He called me Zazie, by the way. I believe he was Greek. And there was a worse fire mage in the guild as well. That we called Harry. That's like a shorthand for his character name. He was not good. He asked Grand Panic for advice, like how to get as good as Grand Panic. And Grand Panic basically said, why would I teach you how to play like me? Why would I do that? That would mean I'm less special for being so good if I taught you how to play like me. That's a really bad idea, don't you think? Which on the one hand, I can see his perspective. On the other hand, it's not like we need, like, that there wouldn't be space for Grand Panic to be better. Like, even better than that. But that's the kind of logic when you start to, like, fence in the content. If hunts were, like, max 8 people, then there would be no need for like Discord servers to coordinate it. In fact, if they existed, they'd be private, and you're not invited. Which I think might be the reason why the developers might look at the hunt train situation and go, that's not exactly how we had envisioned it, and then be like, can we change it? It's probably better we don't. Because the players optimized hunt train, like hunts with hunt trains, in a way where at the very least, most of us are together about it, right? Like, at least it's something we can all collectively share and have fun with in a way. Even though it's not the way it was intended to be done. The alternative path could be much worse. You get what I mean? Hopefully. By the way, is Team 2 still on Gaius? Don't remember him taking this long. I've grown like... I would have said I've grown a full beard, but like that would be a little bit cheaty. I'd already started on that. Aged decade. You're still in there. Now you're finished. Incredible. Right. If you'd like to join me for Frontline, come on over to me. You also cleared in record time. Fair enough. It just felt like it was way longer. Think you've got a couple years left before you get a full beard. Well, I mean... It would go a lot faster if I stopped, like, trimming it every week. Let's see... We're 6, I think. We could probably make 2 groups if Aradil and Seb wants to come along. Who wants to be leader of Team 2? You can even have first dibs on making group this time. I'll be over here so that we don't like mix the 2 groups. I'll be over here, be Team 1, and then I don't know who wants to be leader of Team 2. They'll be the ones who have the amazing opportunity of specifically ganking me. This works, I think. Like this? You have your group? Do a ready check. Let me know when your group is ready, Shaq. Just grow a massive wizard beard so you can be a wise Final Fantasy 14 wizard, get a wizard hat too. Well, you know what happens if I actually grow a full beard, then people will just mistake me for Zeno, right? And that's a joke, if it wasn't obvious. You're all ready? Alright, I will cue us when it's 7:15 in Eorzea time. You still have hair. Well, I mean, maybe in the time it takes me to grow a full beard, I'll lose it. Runtom says, I trust a smart person more if they have a wizard beard. All Final Fantasy 14 YouTubers eventually grow into Zeno. All of them? Well, like, years ago, a friend of mine told me when I had, like, looked a bit like this. He said, I look a bit like the cool, the cool teacher. Or even like the cool substitute teacher that has something awesome planned. And I mean, I could be that guy. I'll be the cool substitute teacher that comes in like, all right, guys, so do you know how to play Final Fantasy 14? No exceptions. All Final Fantasy 14 YouTubers eventually grow. Well, in what way, Obama? Do you mean that they all get angry like that? Did you know that Warrior could solo this classroom? Yeah, it probably could. Just a Warrior just comes in and just chaotic cyclone. Boom. Rocks fall, everyone dies. Bam, 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 bam. Well, I have a feeling we might end up in the same match, everyone. They physically morph into copies of Zeno over time. Wow. Hey, Bokash, what are your thoughts on the Viper changes? I talked a little bit more about it while I did the Expert Roulette, which I did as Viper, but the net is, I feel like the general is, I feel like Noxious Nash added something interesting to manage that now is missing. Is Viper worse for it? Probably not. I'm actually reasonably confident that Viper probably gained damage as a result of this change. And it is now also easier to do that damage. However, I looked at it and thought that was a weird change, and over the course of today, I came to the conclusion that I was actually a bit sad that they removed Noxious Nash, because I had finally started to, I felt like I had finally started to get really good at, managing Noxious Nash. I started to get better at it. It was starting to work, and then they just remove it. I haven't played Sage in PvP ever, I think. I'll give it a chance. I'll try, because we're playing Sage now. We're in the same group. Yay! Woohoo! Also that, Bokaj, without Noxious Nash, Dreadwind is just something you can use whenever. It's a damage uptick compared to doing 1-2-3s, and it gives you an Uncoiled Fury. So what actually something you could do is you could hold a Vice Wind as it's called now, so that you could regain an Uncoiled Fury after you've spent them all, after a high mobility phase or something. I actually earlier today, just this evening almost, I made a joke about how Vicewinder has one of the simplest tooltips in the game. It does damage, it has 2 charges. It gives you a rattling coil. And at level 80, it does damage and has 2 charges. Nice bits. Also, this is awkward. Oh, wow. Red be like, is for me? Get back here, you! Take this! I have to say, I feel like that was a pretty awesome move. Now, this follow-up, you might want to look away. That was a classic. I'm a genius. Oh wait, no. Hey, Fru. Hope you're doing well. During this guy shows up at age 4 class. Have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG? Right, well, you have trouble reading all this? Well, you'll get there. Just have to learn how to read English. Why is there a random red player there? Oh, the sandwich. I don't think we're winning this one, guys. I don't think we're winning this one. Hey, Jeffrey. Hope you're doing well. I'm a little confused. What are we running from? What are we running from? What? We're running away from one lone Dragoon and one lone Dark Knight, and they're not on the same team. They were just, like, rampaging in random directions. Now, this is a little scarier. I didn't make it. It's really hard to set anything up to save someone as a sage. Man, I wish this person with the danger bongos would just give a direction. Sage in PvP is a DPS. I know, but I do have the ability to give you a shield. It just takes too long to set it up. That's what's really awkward about it. Hello. I'm melee healer. Take this. Ow. What? Did you see that? The Dragoon just went, well, I need healing right now. I guess I'll use my standard elixir. Like right in my face. What? What? That was pretty funny. Ow. Well, I think what Gazel really meant by that, Brontom, was more that it like White Mage can at least use something like Cure 2. White Mage, well, Astrologian can use something like Aspected Benefic, whereas Sage can only shield the person that their Cardia is on. So, like, it often ends up being just yourself that you're shielding in frontline, because most of the time you're not anywhere near your group. Or if you are, you can't trust that there's any point in putting them on putting it on them. You know, I think I did quite well. I like, in that match, I remembered how Toxicon 2 works when it gave me one. I'm like, oh yeah, when the shield breaks. I just, well, good damage. I'll just throw that out there, whatever. Couldn't get max battle high, yeah, me neither. I tried really hard. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting that they made it so that all healers are not just heal bots. Because before the PvP rework, that was, as far as I know, because I just want to be clear, I didn't actually play PvP that much before the rework. I did play before the rework. Incidentally, I pretty much only played healers. But I had a friend who did do a lot of PvP. And that was in the, what's it called? The Feast, or whatever it's called? Like one of the game modes that haven't been available since the rework. Often, a match was decided by which healer could hold on for longer. Because healers could outpace most damage done. Most. In a fair fight. Which did in fact mean that before the rework, I remember in Borderland Ruins Secure just running to a random point that an enemy team had and just sit on it. Like, not expecting to steal, but actually expecting like 2 or more players to come and fight me over it. Because as long as I stayed in the ring, they couldn't steal it back. Like, if I just stopped it on neutral, then no one got to have the point until they got rid of me. So I would just sit there, wait for an unfair fight, and then just tank it because Sage was stupid like that. Then they reworked PvP, and then you can't do that. And then they removed this this specific front line, so you can't do that either. But, I mean, after the rework, the meta on Secure was just bring all the jobs with a knockback, get up on the pillars, and then just knock people off. Very fun. That says I did. Healers being so heavy into healing made it pretty unbalanced, and also it was annoying with people running out of range to be healed or dying too fast to be healed. You know, the weirdest thing about PvP before the rework was actually that Battle High is not part of the rework, for anyone wondering. Battle High has always been in Frontline, as far as I know. It has at least been there for years, and it was not added with the rework. The reason why that was weird is healers could legitimately just spam heal forever. Like, they didn't have cooldowns on that. They could just keep casting Cure 2 or whatever. But healing someone does not give you credit if they kill someone, which means that if healers wanted Battle High, they had to stop healing to attack something. Which, that itself is not a problem. The reason why it's a problem is that it feels like the game is saying, here's all the healing tools in the world. By the way, if you actually use that, you'll get punished. Like, it feels a little counterintuitive or backwards, or whatever you want to call it. Like, that's really the problem I have there. That if they wanted healers to do that, then assisting someone should at least qualify you for an assist on their kills. But that's not how it works. It's still not how it works. Which is part of the reason why something like a Sage would just go, well, why would I put Cardia on someone else? That's stupid. Anyway, if you'd like to join me for trials, come on over to me. I'll just leave the people in the group that are here if they still want to come. But if you want to join, be right back now, but we were just about to do trials. How long, Gassel? We can wait if it's just a bit. Yeah, the way you get Battle High bits as a Scholar now is you're a Plague Doctor. Scholar is not a healer in Frontline. Like, it's actually, they're on thin ice of being a support. They do have Adloquium and some heals, But Adloquium gives a pathetic shield, like actually a pathetically sized shield, and increases the damage done by everyone affected. You can see where, like, the more important part, right? And Bio does a significant amount of damage and reduces the damage done by everyone affected. So you basically, you use the expedience or plop down your limit break to buff your next Bio, put it on a squishy, like a healer or a mage, not a red mage, they have more damage reduction built in. Like a ranged job, but not a dancer and not a red mage. Put it on them, and then you click deployment tactics, and then it just goes. And the reason why you put it on a squishy, pro tip for all the scholar beginners in PvP, for some reason, when you initially place the bio, that's when it decides how much damage it's going to do. That's dot snapshotting. That much we're probably in agreement. That makes sense. When you click deployment tactics, it takes whatever's left of that, copies it, and just places it on everyone nearby. And pretty much everyone in the area will take exactly that damage. Which means that if you put bio on a tank, they take 50% less damage up front, melee DPS do as well, then half of your bio damage is gone, because you put it on a tank. If you put it on a range job, they only take 25% less damage in front line, and then you deploy it, and it hits the tank, then the tank takes the same 75% of the damage. So if you've ever seen like a scholar that does way more damage than all the other scholars, that's the difference. The smart scholar only starts their plagues on the squishies. And also that, deploying your dot and it happens to touch a samurai with their defensive up, like they're seeking to limit break you, that doesn't count. They can't limit break you and kill you with that. You didn't attack them. They just happen to be in the area. I suppose they're, like, you can probably feel it more as the recipient of the various effects of the healers, Brontome, in Crystalline Conflict. But as the player, Scholar is a completely different universe of playstyle from from Sage, for example. Also that, Samurai's limit break, if it does go off, it does 100% of your maximum HP and damage. Oh, whoops. Gazel got sniped by lag. Here we have one of every healer, nice. What was I saying? Right, Samurai's limit break, if it goes off correctly, does 100% of your maximum HP and damage. But if you have full HP and like a shield of any size, it doesn't even matter. You just need a shield, then you'll survive. It's very strange.
The seas part for we alone.
And the seas part for we alone. And that's also true, Brontome. If you want to get into something like Crystalline Conflict and want to get better at it, this might sound very strange. No, Bits, your message came through. I just think it didn't, I guess it didn't pop up in the top chat for some reason. It is in the YouTube chat. I can see it. For some reason, they're a lot more picky with what goes through to top chat. But I can see it. It is very silly. But yeah, what I was saying is that if you want to get into something like Crystalline Conflict, like, you can of course not use the specific advice, but like the general advice of like learning to get better at something like a MOBA, or like to get more specific events like League of Legends or Dota 2 or whatever. You can use a lot of the tips they would use to get better. To get better. Like, that doesn't sound like much in the grand scheme of things, but a lot of the thinking can work. A lot of the ways you can go about getting better. And it doesn't take much. It's like tips like reviewing your own gameplay, focusing on bettering yourself. Incidentally, if every team you're on sucks, there's only one person that every one of your teams always has, and it's you. So start with yourself, and you play better. If you can't, then we can take it from there. Like, that kind of stuff. Like, more vague things that might be difficult to explain otherwise. Things that we might not have guides for in Final Fantasy XIV, because people simply, like, there's not enough people playing Crystalline Conflict to have that. But you can get this kind of advice from, like, really good players from other games. I'm always shocked that the camera moves with the rock. I always assume it doesn't, because it would be too easy if it did. Well, that too, Brontom. It also doesn't help that that Final Fantasy, like, Final Fantasy isn't exactly known for PvP. So, like, the kind of player that would play Final Fantasy XIV, or Final Fantasy in general, might not actually care about PvP. Whee! Yeah, exactly, Bits. I was like, well, I can't do anything anyway, so I guess I'll just, like, full focus on keeping track of which rock I'm in, and then I see the camera just slide with it. I'm like, well, now I feel stupid. Now I feel a little bit stupid for being so focused. It didn't do anything. It's not very often you get Susano. And then you also have to be the one being put in the rock. Right then. Next up is normal raids. Oh, Angel does not want to join for normal raids. Does Aradel want to join for normal raids? I only see 8 people here. Alright, Angel, enjoy. I'll try to invite an elf. Maybe they want to join. Yeah, like, other advice is also, like, if you actually want to get good at Frontline or Crystalline Conflict, yes, either, if you keep switching up what job you play, then every time you go into Frontline or Crystalline Conflict, you have to relearn how to play the game. If you keep playing the same job every time, then eventually you'll have an idea of how to play the job you brought. Like, at the very least, that will be a hurdle you don't have to overcome every time. And then you can finally start learning the actual content. Like, that's also advice that you would almost certainly get if you looked up, like, how to get better at a MOBA, for example. You'd, like, be told to choose a main to at least start on. You'd probably also be advised to choose a main that isn't too complicated but has a lot of room to grow, things like that. What would that be in Final Fantasy XIV? Hard to say, but you could start with choosing a job that you like and that you like feel like you understand, like at the very basics before you get started. That would give you an easier time, like reaching the point where you understand the toolkit more, and you can get better. And all this kind of advice you could just as easily get from someone who doesn't even know what Final Fantasy XIV is. Right, moving. A tank? That could work. There's of course the thing that if you actually wanted to play ranged, for example, then you'll have quite a lot of whiplash when you then have to learn to deal with being squishy. But yeah, a tank is a good place to start. They have more ways to do something when they're dying. I think one of the weirdest things Right, the moving thing again. One of the weirdest things to learn as a caster in PvP is if a melee DPS is already in your face, then running away between casts isn't going to do anything. And unless you press sprint, running away isn't going to do anything. Which actually means that sometimes the best move in a 1v1 with a melee DPS of some sort is to stand your ground. Sometimes. That's a really weird thing to have to learn, because it feels so weird, so wrong, to just stand there and tank something as a caster. I'm pretty sure Vacuum Wave is... I was just about to say. I had like a flashback to a Mentor Roulette where I got knocked off because I thought it was like a frontal cone attack or something. And, well, it wasn't that. Picture in frontline is weak. It depends on the situation, A. That's also why I said sometimes. I feel like you're missing the greater picture here. Pictomancer on frontline is weird, but it has good burst. It's just... it takes a lot to build up to, which means that it is weird. Right. So finally, we're doing alliance raids. Yeah, Frontline is weird. Crystalline Conflict is weird in its own way as well. But yeah, the logic of standing your ground in Frontline is of course a lot weirder than in Crystalline Conflict. Because if you like, basically in Frontline, if you're 1v1ing someone, then either one of the following has to happen. 1, you're winning and you're winning fast, or 2, your team is coming. Because if neither of these are the case, then it's much more likely that 3, their team is coming and you're dead if you're not running right now. Like, you don't want to do 1v1s unless you're certain that you're winning in Frontline. And it has to be fast, because the longer you hang out there, the more likely it is that the other team is coming. Like, that absolutely applies. In Crystalline Conflict, if you're 1v1ing someone, then, like, there are possible situations where it makes sense. Like, you're chasing someone down to get rid of them. But I feel like the more likely scenario is that your team is wondering where you are. Because the most likely reason you're 1v1ing someone is because you're, like, somewhere over in Narnia with this person, and they might equally be intentionally baiting you away from the fight. Why? Who knows? Like, who really knows? But you're alone, they're alone. If you don't know that your teammates are coming, then you don't know if their teammates are coming. And again, if it turns into a 2v1, then whoever's alone probably loses. Like, it's generally not a good idea to 1v1 unless you're winning hard. Like, that absolutely applies. But as a caster, if a melee job runs up to your face, then they often, like in Crystalline Conflict especially, they gain extra inherent damage reduction from the simple fact that you stop casting when they run up in your face. Like, in Frontline, melees take less damage, and then also, when they get up in your face, they're likely to get, like, casters are likely to get scared and run. Partly because they usually lose a 1v1 because of the damage reduction split. But in Crystalline Conflict, that doesn't exist, so if the caster's actually in a winning position, they can sometimes win in a, like, if they stand their ground. But the key word is that they actually have to make that decision to stand their ground. And genuinely, I have surprised some melees that just ran up to me in Crystalline Conflict by just choosing to not run. And that, of course, doesn't work when you get up in higher ranks. Because when you get up in higher ranks, people learn that. They expect you to stand your ground. They don't just run up to you expecting you to be bad. At high enough rank, they'll have to assume that you know what you're doing. If you want to experience PvP as PvP, do Crystalline Conflict or Rival Wings. Just don't do Rival Wings during Mock Tome events. That often has a tendency to attract people that just want to hit stuff. But yeah, a large percentage of the players in a Frontline match have no idea what they're doing. Which is fine. And yeah, exactly, Gazel. Often the mummification comes as a little bit of a damage surprise. It's just enough that the, like, if you smack it down right after a broil or something, it might scare someone who doesn't know better into thinking that you're stronger than you really are. Like, they run up to you and you immediately smack them with a broil and mummification. That looks like somewhat scary damage. Like, a little bit. Just enough that they go, oh, okay, maybe not then. And the key is that in Frontline, you can assume that a lot of players don't know what they're doing. Hey, Zeros. Hope you're doing well. If you're in high rank, you shouldn't be letting that melee in range anyways. I mean, no, but usually that also hinges quite heavily on the rest of your group working with you on that. You know, the whole peeling and stuff. Six hours of party find in the new Savage. How did it go, Ceres? Did you kill anything? Did you, if you did you get any loot? Whee! Question. Is other buffs for like the new Viper buffs, like the ones that their combo starters give now, are there buff icons like the buff that makes Steel Fangs and Steel Maw do more damage? Isn't that the Steel Fangs icon, but like with inverted colors? And then the other one is the, well, the Reaving Fangs icon with inverted colors. That's why it's blue, because it's normally red. How random. Why did they do that? Why not just actually put the icon for the attack there? Sarah says, I did not kill, no. A bit difficult making progress when everyone has different strats and thinks their one's the GOAT. I could imagine that. I heard from DP that they had similar problems, that not much was happening. Because, like, people weren't that great about cooperating when it really came to it. And probably also the strategy thing. Bronson says, I'm just passionate about PvP for a guy that doesn't play it much. It's very well designed right now, and I think it's a lot easier to get into than, say, Dota or League. I agree. I just wish it wasn't a thing to do in a game with so many other things to do that line up more with the game itself. Well, I mean, it's weird because MMOs have this idea that, like, a lot of MMOs have this idea that you need to be able to do everything in the game. Like, it's not just it has to be enough to be the only game that you play. It's like, it's a step further than that. Not only do they want to be the only game you play, but the reason why it's the only game you play is because why would you play anything else? You can do everything in this game, so you have no need to play anything else. But I think the way they've decided to do PvP in Final Fantasy XIV Frontline works. Like, Frontline kind of works. Crystalline Conflict has conflicts. There's something that needs work there. And what I mean by that is, I think it might actually help both Crystalline Conflict and Rival Wings if they did. Ooh, I don't know. Like, you know how like in the main menu of the Duty Finder, there's like this list of things you can do once a day, and there's actually like a whole section for PvP, but there's only one thing there. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with this. Why do you have a PvP section and only one thing in it? Hey Grotto stuff, hope you're doing well. Like, I think if they actually put like a daily Rival Wings, there would be about as many people doing Rival Wings as there are people doing Frontline. Like, just there. Two things. Rival Wings is there too, technically. Elaborate, Ogni, because Rival Wings is not in the daily list on the Duty Finder. It is not there. I think you're looking somewhere else than I am. Rival Wings is actually not there. I can't show you right now. No, Ogni. I'm talking about the main menu for Duty Finder. If you scroll down, you'll find that there is a separate, like title where it basically says PvP, and then right underneath that it says Frontline. So they're like, we have this whole category of content. In it, there's one thing. Like, they made a bucket and then they put one thing in it. No worries, Ogni. But yeah, if they added a daily to do Crystalline Conflict, I don't care whether it's like, well, it has to be ranked or not. Just put a daily for it. And put a daily for Rival Wings. Like, I don't think the reason why Rival Wings is not being done is because no one likes it. It's because it's hidden away. Like, it's hidden away like the developers are embarrassed by it. Crystalline Conflict is actually, like, more prominently shown. Because it's at least at the top of the PvP tab itself. But like, still, the reason why Crystalline Conflict doesn't really work is because due to it being a lot more intense, a lot of players feel like it's a much bigger commitment to go into a Crystalline Conflict match, which then leads to the situation where a lot of the time they don't want to do a match unless they're like fully serious about it, which then means that most of the like, as far as I know, it's been a bit since I queued for it, but usually if there's a new season in Crystalline Conflict, if there's a new Hug Zande. Wait, why? What now? Like this? I didn't really do the animation. I was too busy casting you creation prognosis. But that leads to the problem where Crystalline Conflict doesn't, like, after about a month, maybe even less than a month, if you queue for ranked Crystalline Conflict, unless you're queuing at the exact time where other people are queuing, it's not going to happen. Like, it's straight up not going to happen. It goes crazy on the day before new season. It doesn't surprise me, but it is really funny that happens, because the reason why nothing happens shortly after a season has begun is because season begins, the people that care about it just spam ranked until, like, they get the rank that they're happy with. And when they have that, as far as I know, there isn't, like, a decay. So, like, if you just want crystal rank, then you just need to reach crystal rank, and then you're good. You can just stop playing. If you want to be in, like, the top 100 or whatever, then you have to, like, stay in that. But the point is that there isn't really any incentive to keep playing once you have the rank you want. And then there's, of course, as you say, right before new season, some players, I guess they try to, like, sneak a rank up. Like, on the final day, they're like, maybe if I go right now while the person in first place is asleep, then maybe I can steal their rank while they're away. Or someone just goes, oh right, Crystalline Conflict is ending. I should probably, like, put in some matches. And then they get, like, silver. Or bronze, if they're really unlucky. And yeah, exactly, Brontom. That's also part of the problem, is that because Crystalline Conflict is not very popular, when it's popping, like when it's actually happening, you're getting queues to pop. What is like, did Ham like crash? What's happening? Did Ham? But when it's popping, it's usually the same few players, which makes it even more awkward because you have like, let's say there's 14 players in queue. You queue, boom, you're among the 10. Then after the match, you're like, right, bathroom break, need a glass of water. You come back, you queue, and it like the queue basically says, next queue time, next century, like, good luck. Graham said something about a door. Oh, okay. And then, when the 10 players that got in come out, then they queue again, and because you're already there, you go in. Like, now you're among the chosen 10, because you were among the first 10 to queue. And that's not super fun. Like, it actually leads to something really fascinating. I remember I heard about this in a Salamander video. Other content creator. He actually specializes in PvP, I believe, so... And Glamour, or something like that. But mainly PvP. Where he said that doing Crystalline Conflict in sets and trying to do it, I think he said doing it at the same times, means that there's a better chance that you'll start to, like, know the people that you're fighting. Like, if you do them in sets, then there's a better chance that you'll meet the same teammates and the same opponents, and you'll cycle with the same players, and that can actually be beneficial. For multiple reasons. Whereas if you do it at random times, then the opponents and the teammates will be different every time. And the reason why that is, like, the reason why getting the same players is, by playing the same players, you can start to recognize that, oh, that ninja with the weird hat, he always chases you if you go to a certain threshold. Like, he can't stop himself. He has to chase. He keeps messing it up. So if I just bait him with that, then we can win easy by just baiting him in. Or that summoner specifically always uses Phoenix for some reason. Whether you can play around that doesn't matter. The point is that now you know. And you can try to play around it. And similarly, you can start to learn how your team plays and play around that. Like, you start to recognize the players. It also means that if you have some sort of weakness in your playstyle, your opponents are going to abuse that. And maybe your teammates are going to try and play around that, but your opponents are going to abuse that. And whether that's good or bad, it doesn't really matter. It's a thing that is present as a result of there not being that many people doing Crystalline Conflict. But if there was a daily, and some sort of like rank decay of any kind that motivated you to play a little bit every so often, then it wouldn't just die once people have gotten the rank they want. People just crank out casual a lot for the series rank 25 reward. Oh, yeah, that also makes sense. I see Chris says I kept facing... Xander's so angry because he didn't get hugs. Ah. Kept facing and playing alongside the same people when I played ranked. It's true. I noticed a weak link that I knew to cover on my team and pick off when they were an opponent. Exactly. I had the same experience of and notably that was because when I was playing Crystalline Conflict a lot in season 1, I would usually like do my matches of the day, because I did like matches every day around the same time, which meant that the other players who did their matches at that time of day would appear, and you could almost tell, oh, it's Tuesday, they're savage raiding or whatever, because they're missing today. And sometimes you'd see people like disappear because like you ranked up to a higher spot, and now you don't overlap anymore. You can't see that player anymore. But you would like, I would get like recognize people like, oh yeah, that's that guy. And you'd know like how to play around with them in a good and bad way. How dare they be worse than me? And the key thing that I do want to highlight that makes season 1 of Crystalline Conflict a lot different than all other seasons is that in season 1, I don't think I can show it here really, but in season 1, once you reached a new tier, like if you were bronze, if I reached bronze 2 with 0 stars and lost, I would stay in bronze 2. I'm pretty sure. I know for certain you couldn't rank down to the previous like bracket. But that meant that you could just like, you could have a really good win streak and like get up to a new like plateau, and then you could just lose a lot and it was fine. Yeah, I have bronze here because I haven't played in a while. And the only time that you could like actually really lose value was when you reached Crystal. Losing could bring you down to like 0 points in rating, but it did have the effect, it had this really funny effect that I actually saw that a lot of people would like, you know, fully main, like fully concentrate on playing just one job, just maximum mastery, and then they reach Crystal, and if they were low Crystal, they were probably not playing their main. Like, they reached Crystal and just went, whatever, and just tried random stuff. Because you couldn't lose your Crystal rank again. I think you can now. By the way, welcome back, Emia. I'm glad to hear it. That you're back. I'm sorry to hear about you had an emergency. I hope everything is alright. I did get a little worried because it seemed like you disappeared for different reasons, but I hope everything is okay. Brontom says, I don't know if there's really even a way to revitalize PvP rewards, but having the other 2 game modes. Rewards maybe, but having the other 2 game modes as a daily would be a good start. Yeah, the interesting thing is that Frontline had like already like some presence when it was just a daily, nothing else. Some presence, wasn't like a lot, but there was some presence. Then they added the series rewards, and I can say in in Season 1 of Crystalline Conflict, it was actually a really common occurrence, especially in casual, but also in ranked Crystalline Conflict, of people AFKing the match. Like, not as in, we failed the first, like, push, so now we lose, and just rage quitting. Like, no, actually, they just went, well, I want this, whatever it was at that time, doesn't matter. I want this, and the only way to get it is to do PvP. To do PvP, I have to queue for player versus player stuff, which I don't like. So what I'll do instead is I will queue for a Crystalline Conflict match. They end quickly, and at the time they gave way better series level XP per hour than frontline matches. Whether you won or lost didn't matter. I believe it's 900 for a win, 700 for a loss. They just queue up, click yes, and then just do something else. And then, of course, their team would lose because they were a man down. But just in case anyone here hears this and goes, "That's genius! I should do that." You can be reported for that, and you can absolutely get punished for that. So don't do it. And yeah, exactly. Once the rewards are attained, people stop playing it. The problem with the series rewards, what I was trying to get at here, is that this causes players that don't want to play PvP to play PvP. That sounds like a success, but it's really not. Because it doesn't mean that they go, "Oh, I should give it a try," and then they try PvP, and then they go, "Oh, this is actually kind of awesome, I should do more of this." What actually happens is they do it and hate it, but they do it. Like, they'll do it because you say you have to. Yeah, we actually just finished on dailies, Emir. Yeah, but they'll do it because they have to, in their mind. So they'll also do it, they'll do it begrudgingly, they'll do it poorly, and if given the choice, they'll do it lazily, which ruins the fun for everyone else. Like, that's just a net failure of the system, right? We don't want that. But it's not like the frontline daily didn't still cause players that were terrible at the game mode to do it for other reasons. Like, it's really difficult to do something about this, because why did people do frontline, the daily frontline, before the series reward? Some players discovered that it gave really good XP for a job you didn't play. Like, you could just level a job without playing it by doing a daily frontline. So, like, that's the weird thing. I don't know what to say beyond. If you give any PvP mode a reward that is good enough, then people will do it for the reward. And then the question is that okay? Because surely, if they hate it so much, they'll eventually get fed up with it. But actually, I have to change what I said before, Ogni. It doesn't say PvP mode, but what does that even mean? Daily challenges? Why is it called that? Why are there no other daily challenges? Like, same point. Why isn't this just called PvP? And then just add a daily of this? Or a daily of this? because it's not a roulette. Fair point. It's not random. But it could be. Could you imagine for a second if they... That wouldn't work because of the random team sizes, but it would be pretty funny if you just queued for PvP and then it just puts you into something. It just... You're going in crystalline conflict now. That would be pretty funny. But I do think adding a daily for each of the PvP modes might actually help. Because right now, Frontline kind of has the crystalline conflict advantage. Not the crystalline conflict advantage, the crystal tower advantage. It's very likely you know what it is, you have unlocked it, and it has a daily attached. The others don't. They give less XP, and they just are more difficult to actually get into. Because they don't. It's really weird. Imagine getting Shatter every day. Oh boy. Screwed at my young too. Can't participate in PvP because my lag is simply too bad. That's also a reason. Browntom says, I think if it gave rewards not unique to PvP might help. Say they drop materia crystals. Well... They kind of do. You can buy materia with wolf marks. You can buy materia with wolf marks. So it kind of does. It's just they're very expensive, so you don't get a lot, but you can. And yeah, I don't know. I think what the problem is with this is that because this is exclusive to PvP, it forces players that really don't want to be there to come here and do it. That's not good. If they gave something that wasn't exclusive to PvP, that might be better. Because... Yeah, I know, Browntom. Like, if they gave something that wasn't unique to PvP, then you could get people to go, well, the XP is really good from Frontline. Then people try it, and then they go... Well, I mean, sure, the XP is good, but I don't like it here, so I'll just not come back. I'll just do something else. Welcome back, Alana. Like, that's the thing, whereas the series XP, like the series track, has the effect of, well, I want this reward on the series track, try Frontline, I don't like it here, but I feel like I have to be here. And that's almost worse. Yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I think adding a different, adding a roulette, or like a daily, for the other PvP modes would be a good start. Like, at least try it. And if that doesn't help, because people just go, well, I'll just do my daily crystalline conflict as a casual match. Then they could, like, if ranked then just dies because of that, they could do, like... They could add, like, rank decay of some sort. Like, if you don't play crystalline conflict ranked matches for a certain amount of time, your rank starts to drop. I don't know how fast that would need to be to work, because each PvP, like, ranked season in crystalline conflict is, like, 2 months. So... Like, if I say the first month of crystalline conflict goes crazy, that's probably an exaggeration, because it's probably the first weeks. And then, like, the last few days. But it feels like it's more, because a season is, like, 2 months. It would help to make the quality of the player pool better. It would, but that's the question then, Brontome. Because by the result of there being very, 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 very little interest in PvP in Final Fantasy XIV, aside from Frontline where people just run it for the daily, the player pool for the remaining game modes that are not being run daily is, I would assume, would have to be amazing, right? It's only the cream of the crop, the ones that are so dedicated that they run, like they play these game modes despite no one else giving a fluff. They must be amazingly good. And the problem there is if there's only amazing players left, it makes it impossible for new players to get in. I remember years ago, there was this game called Bloodline Champions. I guess it still exists. I got into it when I think it was kind of new, played it with my brother, and then like we stopped playing, and then like a few years later we tried it again, and we just got stomped by the first players we met, like instantly. And either the queue would take an eternity, or we would get matched into someone that just stomped us, which led us to the conclusion that there was only the cream left. Like, there was nothing else, which means that any new players that got in, they might play some matches against, like, CPUs, and then when they were like, I could probably take another player in a match, they just stomped, because there's nothing else left. There's only the best players. So, like, PvP games kind of need this, like, steady flow of players of various skill levels, because if they don't have bad players anymore, then there is no training ground for them to get better at, unless you can actually provide, like, AI opponents that are good enough to, like, carry them all the way to where the best of the best are, and you probably can't. And that's kind of the problem, because as Crystalline Conflict has very little popularity, it means that when someone new wants to get in, they can't really, because they just lose. Or they sit in queue for 30 minutes because all the people queuing for ranked are outside of your league. Oh, you're unranked or bronze? Well, there are no players there anymore. They're all in platinum or higher. The quality of the pool, I mean, people that want to be there, not simply there to get rewards and dip. Fair enough. The best players should stay in ranked where they belong. Well, yeah. But I mean, all players deserve to be in ranked if they want to. Like, my experience with games with casual modes and ranked modes is that casual is where the actual casual players go, but it's simultaneously also where the best players go if they don't want to risk losing rank. Which means that, like, the mix of players is ridiculous. Whereas if you go into ranked, you will at least get matched with players of similar skill level to your own, I would say. Like, similar. Eventually similar. Like, if we assume everyone's playing ranked, then, like, the people that deserve to be in gold will eventually make their way to gold. The people that deserve to be in silver will eventually make their way to silver. The people that deserve to be higher than that will land there and get out of the beginner pool, right? Exactly, Brandon. That's kind of also what I was getting at. Like, I actually have, like, back when Crystalline Conflict was newer and this wasn't as much of a problem because it at least had the new car smell, a lot of players were interested because it was new. I remember giving advice to players that were like, I always lose when I play. I'm like, do you play casual? Yes. That would be why. Because they usually get matched up with a mix of players that have no idea what they're doing, and their opponents know exactly what they're doing. And the only thing that decided which team won was which team the players that knew what they were doing landed on. Which is not a fun way to play. Whereas in ranked, you'd have less of that, and eventually you'd get matched with people of your skill. Hopefully. Hopefully. And it did work for some. But for others it didn't. And thank you for coming, Rust. The best of the best of the best, sir. But that would be optimal. The problem is that right now I think the pool of players that play, for example, Crystalline Conflict is so incredibly tiny that there isn't enough players to do that. Like, you need more than 10 players in each bracket. And as far as I remember, bronze, silver, and gold can land in the same match. Gold and I believe platinum can land in the same match. And platinum and diamond can land in the same match. And diamond and crystal can land in the same match. Something like that. I don't know if it's wider than that. But, like, bronze to gold is already pretty wide. This is a very, very, very difficult comparison because, of course, like, the skill level in Crystalline Conflict has moved since, but, like, when I got into Crystalline Conflict, I basically just played Red Mage, and I climbed from, like, bronze, well, unranked, all the way to, like, low diamond or something. Using only Red Mage, and I basically, most matches that I won started with me just, like, dashing someone and killing them. Just find the squishy, melee combo, you're dead. Done. Now we get, like, we have a lead. Then I got to, like, low diamond, started getting matched with crystal players. And they're not having that. They see the red mage come charging in, they back off, and like they back away from the squishy to make it look like they're open. Red mage charges in, dead. Red mage is dead. Like, not only that, but red mage got focused so much that I had to learn how to play defensively to actually be able to, like, climb again. Like, I had to get used to be the squishy that got focused. Because the moment I jumped to that rank, the players had learned how to play around it. They're not going to have that. And yeah, exactly, Brontome. Ultimately, the solution to this is have more players. Which is also the reason why my suggestions to this solution does not at all result in a better player pool. Like, it does not affect the quality of players at all. In fact, if it affects the quality of the player pool, it affects it negatively because it brings a lot of garbage players in to try it. But all those garbage players could be better. Like, they could become good eventually if they choose to stick around. So, like, because this game mode is so dead, essentially, a thing that could be done is try to do something to make it more interesting. And I think that's what they're trying to do. Like, they tried with the series ranking and all that, and making sure that Crystalline Conflict was the easier way to level it. They balanced PvP primarily around Crystalline Conflict. And they add these, like, glowing versions of weapons that you can only have if you rank high. Like, they're trying to make it so that ranked is something people want to participate in. There's just a problem that, like, I personally, I didn't care about those weapons before they started glowing. I'm like, oh, they glow now. If you play ranked, well, I mean, I didn't want them anyway. The fact they're glowing now doesn't change that. I'm still not interested. What if there was a bot mode? I feel like the problem there would be that a lot of players would simply just do it in bot mode. And then they'd get, like, it would be too big of a step up to jump out of it. This isn't a very it isn't a super common problem, but it is a similar problem that there is a significant amount of players that learn a role in Final Fantasy XIV exclusively with duty support. Exclusively with duty support. Only tank in duty support. Or only heal with duty support. They don't know exactly how it is to tank or heal in a real group. Because they've only DPS'd in real groups. They don't quite know what to do about it. So they're too scared of going into a real group. And they've gotten so used to playing it this way that it's too big of a change. So they're just not going to. This same problem could happen with PvP. That players just do their PvP with bots only. Because it's too scary to play against players. Or worse, it's easier to win against bots. Because it probably is. It is a good idea. I'm just saying that there is a potential danger there. There's a mistake, you played Dead Mage instead of Red Mage? Yeah. It's a difficult conversation to figure out what has to be done, and I'm pretty sure that the development team knows that it's a problem. I'm almost confident that they're trying. It's just that right now, at the release of so much PvE content, is not the time to try and fix Crystalline Conflict. If they're trying to fix it. They'd have to make the actual bots and figure out how they play and all. Yeah, true. They'd have to make it so that the bots can play, and they would probably also have to make sure that the bots are not too good if they actually do manage to make them good. So on and so forth. And welcome back, Cyanide. Which is actually, speaking of which, I do think is about the time that we round up here before I get too caught up in this loop of talking about PvP. Now, if you enjoyed the company of me or the people in the chat, remember that there's a Discord community server that you can join, where you'll find me. You'll also find the weekly schedule, where you can see what else is coming up in the coming days, such as the Astrologian guys that are coming this week. We also have the return of the solo challenge on Thursday, and we are going to attempt Savage on Saturday, see how it goes. And probably going to do it from Chaos. You will also find the announcement room where you'll see links to videos and streams when they come out. And if you go to the role assignments room and grab the reminder role, you'll get a notification whenever I do post a video or stream, and an extra one about 15 minutes before the stream so you don't miss a second. And if you enjoyed this particular stream, it helps me a lot if you leave a like on it in the YouTube system, because that tells YouTube it was a good stream and you'd like other people to enjoy it as well, so that of course helps me. Thank you so much in advance. And finally, if you'd like to support me even more directly, you can become a member, you can gift memberships, you can use the super chat, or you can also, if you don't like that, there's also a Ko-Fi link in the description. It all helps me directly to be able to afford doing all this for all of you. But yeah, I think that's it for me. So apparently it's getting dark, as you can see. I'm actually turning into Shadow Kai. With that said, thank you all so much for watching. Good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye.